Greetings and welcome, folks, to the latest episode of the Vernon Richard Show. In this episode, it's going to be a bit different. We've recorded it on the road and we recorded it together. So you're going to see a bunch of guests. You're going to hear from people like, gosh, who was in the episode? You're going to hear from Hynie. You're going to hear from Emily Bache, Jenna Charlton,
Basti, Baart
Knerr,
Knack, Emily,
Baart. Yep.
Alejandro,
Yes.
and us.
Who I called Leonardo. Good grief. But it's a great episode. We really enjoyed filming it. And I would like to do more of this. So if you like what you're about to hear, please do let us know.
Yeah, I agree with. It was great recording in person, and yeah, I would love to be going to lots of conferences and walking around interviewing people. Me and Vernon doing chat. So if you do like the format, let us know, and we can try and get some more. Enjoy.
Cool. On with the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of the Vernon Richard Show, live from Agile Testing Days. So, how are you, dude?
I'm good, mate. Having a nice time. It was a little bit of a last minute trip, but it's good to be here. Not gonna lie. It's good to see some familiar faces. Heard some great talks, which I'm sure we're gonna get into.
Yep.
It's always nice to be back in Potsdam.
So, yeah, we are at Agile Testing Days in Potsdam. We've been to, as Vernon says, we've met loads of amazing people, had lots of amazing sessions. We're trying to do something different. We're both together. We've not done a recording together yet.
Yeah, this is a first.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we have been in the same place recording together. So another experiment for the pod. So yeah, we're going to see how we get on.
And just to practice, if I look down here, it's because the streaming, what I'm recording's here, but the camera's up here.
Exactly.
So if I look down here, I'm actually looking at you, but I'm not. But
and
except I am.
You know, we've got our own equipment, that is for sure, but our dear friend Senor Performo has let us use some of his equipment because he's been doing his usual live broadcasting from events and conferences and things. So, muchas gracias, Leonardo. Appreciate it.
So, for those of you who don't know what Agile Testing Days is, it's one of the oldest, established conferences, I think. Is it 15? This is 15th year last year or something like that? I need to check.
Right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think you're right. Yeah. Was it this year?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll check. It doesn't matter. It's been around for a long time.
We're as prepped as always.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of the most established conferences in the testing community, I would say. Been going for a long time. It's run over 4 days in the beautiful city of Potsdam, and they have I think usually 5, 6, 7, or 8 tracks on the go. It's a big event.
Yeah.
Circa 6, 7, 800 people. So if you've not been, definitely check it out. So yeah, why are we here?
I have no idea. I mean, I know why you're here.
Should we start with why I'm here then?
Yeah, Rich, why are you here?
Good question. So this year I ran a tutorial at Agile Testing Days. So on the Tuesday, they usually have anywhere between 1 to 8 tutorials. Full day, 6 hours of learning time plus breaks. And this year I did one on creating targeted automated tests. So yeah, that was the full day.
So what was the motivation? What was the genesis of this? Like, why were you motivated to do this workshop?
So for me, I still feel that we have too many UI based tests. So whether they're end to end or not, most of them tend to be by nature. I think UI test and end-to-end test are a bit of a synonym for a lot of people.
They're 100%.
So the purpose of the training was to teach you how to model your system so that you can spot the layers you could test on.
Okay.
But then also when you do an end-to-end behavior or scenario, we like to talk about the golden thread. So when you click login, what actually happens up and down your layers in order to get to the logged in state?
Yep.
And if you model that, you can then say, well, what risks could cause that end-to-end flow to fail?
Okay.
And then with our system knowledge that we've just built up, and our knowledge of different types of tests, we could mitigate it with lots of smaller targeted tests to basically build up a collage of tests to mitigate what that end-to-end was doing. But then not
I love
have
that phrase, by the way.
Yeah?
A collage of...
Oh, that's Mark Winteringham. That's Mark Winteringham.
Shout out to you, Mark.
We used to have this animated slide that demonstrated it, and it had the animations killed PowerPoint because we tried to have so many little targeted tests.
I I love that. That's beautiful.
But
Here's the thing. So was the workshop? So the problem is that we automate too much through the GUI, right?
Potentially, yeah.
And so we want to be able to model a system so we can break that down, use the appropriate level to address the appropriate risk, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So were you using one tool or a bunch of tools?
No, so a bunch of tools. So I'd wrote 30 playwright tests.
Okay.
And I'd intentionally written them to be, pretty poor. Or clearly mitigating a risk that...
I think he found that very easy.
Yeah. I got AI to do it. So purposely, like, for example, one of the easy examples I picked is validation testing. So typically people will do validation testing, all over the place, API or UI.
Yep.
But when I see it done on the UI, they're running 10, 20, 30 permutations through the form to check the validation. But if you understand the system, and our system that I'd built, the validations has the rules right at the DB. And then we're using a library called Zod, which then pushes the validations to the API. And then the same validations get pushed to the UI. So we have the same rules all the way down the stack. I know not every app does that, but in this app we did. But when it comes to validation testing, are you testing that the system rejects your data? Are you testing that the error message is correct?
Okay.
Are you testing that the error message is in the correct place?
Okay.
Are you testing that the error message is red?
Okay.
What is it that you say when I'm testing validation do you mean? And when you view those tests, those examples or risks I just mentioned, you need different tests.
That's
to
why
mitigate those risks. So yeah,
you're modeling the system in the way you are.
Exactly.
Because the first thing I thought about is, so one risk is that mechanism may not work of pushing, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you need to test every validation rule at every level.
Exactly.
You can just go, well, if the mechanism isn't all or nothing, as long as one is at the right level, I'm good to go. And that should be a very quick cheat.
And now so let's say you did all that testing at the DB level. The system will reject the data.
Yeah.
Ideally, it would reject it at a higher level as well, but we know it ain't getting in our DB.
Right.
But now it's kind of like, well, does the API use the same validation? You could do it just one or two.
Just one or two, yeah.
Then the UI, you could do one.
Yep.
But then the UI is now more about the UX of it.
Exactly.
Is it red? Is it in the right place?
Right.
Like we were joking in the training when you submit a form and it errors.
Yeah.
But the error's at the top of the form that you can't see. So that test would pass, right?
Yeah.
You have to scroll to the top of the form.
Yeah.
Error, and then you scroll back down to where you were.
Yeah.
You're doing stuff like that.
Really not.
And then I built. I gave them a code base with visual testing in there using Playwright.
Yep.
UI testing in Playwright. UI testing examples with mocks. I gave them component testing with React. Contract testing, API testing, and some unit testing. So the idea was, again, it's not that I think your end-to-end test is necessarily wrong. I think we default there to test you can log in. But when you have the whole stack, there's so many things that could stop you from logging in. And when the UI test eventually fails, you have to invest a lot of time then working out what actually went wrong. Whereas if you had the collage of tests all the way up, you would probably fail at the layer that's wrong, and you would get that feedback a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And in turn, your test execution time will be improved, your debugging time will be improved, fixing the tests will be easier because it's just doing one atomic targeted thing. So yeah, that was kind of what we spent the day doing.
That sounds very, very cool. I couldn't make it because I was late. Everybody's very shocked and surprised to hear that.
Oh, excuse me, everyone. Not a single shocked face in there.
Everybody at Agile Testing Days has collapsed. They've fainted in shock and surprised. It's just we're the only two people who are conscious. I arrived in the afternoon. I was actually supposed to arrive in and around midday, 1 o'clock, but I had some delays on the flight, so I didn't get here until the afternoon. And the conference was in full swing by then. So yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
So what brings you? Because you've got a different badge, right? If we should have taken our badges off, right? But my badge says speaker, but your badge says?
My badge says alumni. So because I've presented at 2 of the past 3. I only started Agile Testing Days is weird. I only came for me it's weird because every year I would see it and think to myself, why am I not there? I should be there. I'd see people there and I'd say, these are all my people. Or I'd see topics there and then these topics are absolutely up my street. So thanks to a combination of my friend Joao Parenza and the legendary Lisa Crispin on Twitter, as it was back then, they managed to kind of persuade, I think, Pepe and Uwe for me to come. So having been before, I am now an alumni. And here I am. Rich helped me get here, and also Alex helped me get here as well. So shout out to you, Alex. Love you so much. Thanks for the help, you too. And I'm just here. I'm just, as I said, I have been, because I was made redundant, I got some time on my hands.
Yeah.
The opportunity was here. Rich said he was missing me, and could I come out to Potsdam? I said, because I'm that kind of nice guy, I thought, why not? Squared it away with Gina. Thank you, babe. And I'm here for the week. So it's all good.
And also, to bring that back up to the previous podcast episode we did, where we spoke about the importance of networking and conferences, and you've just mentioned you've been made redundant, right?
Yeah.
This is now the best place for you to be.
Absolutely.
But you're only able to have taken advantage of what was offered to you because of some of the stuff you've done in the past when your situation was slightly better. So it's that.
You're right. It's a beautiful combination of things. So someone else that's here is my very, very, very dear friend, Ash Hynie. So one way or another, I was going to be at this conference, and Ash is here as the founder of an app called Counterpoint, and we're going to try and get Ash to come over here, and in fact, we're going to try and get a few guests to come over here.
Yeah, we will do.
So you're absolutely right. The last episode was all around networking and meeting people and helping and figuring out who your people are. And that has proven to be the case. I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for the connections and networks that I had. I wouldn't have had such a good time. Haven't been here if I hadn't made new friends. I've made new friends somehow here. And there's so many incredible people here who know so much incredible stuff. So yeah, just feeling blessed. Had a good time. The talks have been great.
Yeah.
Keynotes have been fantastic. So yeah, it's all good, man.
So yeah, I would say as well, you talk about meeting new people, there's a very social aspect to Agile Testing Days that hugely appeals to me. Oh, go on.
Wait, that's an understatement of the year.
Yeah?
The social activities at this event are ridiculous.
I like to, hopefully Jose doesn't shout at me for this, but I like to call it a festival with a conference inside it, because the conference itself is amazing, but because of the venue and the nature of it, because it's in a hotel, but it's an amazing, massive, large hotel, and we take over the whole place.
Yep.
You then, the evening kind of social aspects kind of more blend in nicely. It's like a great day of learning.
Yep.
Now let's have a little bit of fun.
Yep.
But still with learning. And enjoyment, and giving people opportunities to do something they might not have been able to do, such as there was a bloody musical.
Oh my!
There was a musical on Wednesday night with a lot of our friends.
Listen, my head is still spinning from this musical. It is insane. So you know me, I'm a very positive person. And I say all the time that people have got so much talent and they've done so many amazing things.
Yep.
But often it's quite hidden.
Yep.
And you don't know about it. So I guarantee you're walking past incredible people every day.
Yep.
You're working with people who are doing some wild stuff outside the office, outside of your team that you don't know about. And this musical is nuts. So Samuel, I can never say Samuel's last name correctly. Is it Nietzsche?
It's something like that, but we'll link to him in the show notes, right?
Yeah. So Samuel, if you've seen Samuel do a presentation of his own at Agile Testing Days, it is much more of it's a performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he has special effects, he has smoke, all kinds of crazy stuff. And each year he keeps upping the ante.
He does.
So he's done a couple of these presentations where it's him, he's got lightsabers and smoke. Then last year he did like a duet. He did a performance.
He did a duet with
He did a presentation as a duet with the awesome Lena.
Yeah.
And that went really well. So this year, Samuel being Samuel, he just upped the ante. Lena and him decided to up the ante and put on a full-blown musical. And we're going to link to all the people who were in this musical. But what was your take of that musical, man?
and there'll be clips you can watch of this musical,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, I'm not a huge musical fan, right? But there was a really fun narrative around the musical, around AI taking over and testers being coming in and kind of saving the day. But for me, I was watching this from a bunch of friends getting to showcase skills that we don't see, and them absolutely enjoying themselves, putting on an amazing show, and like me watching it, like I wasn't watching a musical, I was watching my friends, and you know, I actually, like, not, let's say I say my friends, I do know most of them, but I know more of them better than others. But just watching a group of people have an opportunity to do something that they potentially might not always be able to do back in the wider world, right? Because you know, there's a more competitive space there. Whereas here, they took their testing knowledge, turned it into a fun, interesting story, showcased some of their skills, put on an incredible performance. Honestly, it was. It was just special. I think special is the best word I can describe it. It was just special to see them having such a good time,
and everybody shone.
Yeah.
So the thing to point out at this point is the singing ability of the people involved in this musical. Now we had the full spectrum of people who hadn't sang for a long time or maybe hadn't sang before, all the way to the other side. We just had someone, Chris Stone, who's an absolute legend, walk by and give us a wave. Hopefully he'll come and join us. But we had the full spectrum of singing ability. But because it's a musical, it's not just singing ability that is required to put on a good performance. You need to perform, you need to be able to act, engage with the crowd, be calm and relaxed, have fun. And everybody shone in different ways. It was absolutely ridiculous. Some people are just a natural on stage, like Callum.
Yeah, Callum and Curse Ryan, yes,
on this stage. It is ridiculous, right? And then you've got people who can sing their asses off. I'm still Tamara and Rachel.
Yes,
what
voices?
The hell
wow,
is going on here?
Yes,
what is going on here? Why are they even in software development? It doesn't even make any sense. What's going on here?
That note Rachel hit. Callum told me it was an F high or F sharp, but then she told me it was something else. But
listen,
notes.
The note was, God damn, that's what the note was. It was absolutely incredible.
But it was going to say it was absolutely incredible. But to tie it into one of the keynotes, so Jenna Charlton gave a keynote about the main. I'll get the title wrong. We'll get the title right. Do you remember the exact title?
Oh no,
no, me neither. But I remember one of the core things was identity.
Yes,
and your identity has symbols.
Yes.
And I think that we got to see a lot of that. Like, we see a lot of these people, we see their tester identity, but here we got to see a few of those other ones brought in.
That's a beautiful shot.
And as a conference, you also get to see a bit more of that sometimes as well. Like, you know, people feel really welcome and at home here, and you get to see a little bit more of that identity.
Yeah.
But if we go back to some of the like testing concepts for me that came out of Jenna's talk, she said people identify as a tester. Or that's just triggered me so much to think, what is a tester? Like, when we say I identify as a tester, what does it mean? What are the core common traits or symbols that, you know, makes you a tester? And we'll hopefully find Jenna. Or maybe we can find her.
Yeah, I was looking distracted
we can edit.
Because Jenna, I was looking around for Jenna. She was supposed to be here. So
easier than me.
You want me to go look for him?
Yeah, go.
Okay, I'm going to go look for Jenna. I'll leave you with Rich. If there's any issues, just let me know, because the code of conduct is still in effect.
I can bring the Andrew in, maybe.
Hello, I've never been on camera. I'm so excited.
All right, so Vernon's gone off to look for Jenna. So I thought, while Vernon's doing that, someone walked past, and that someone is Leandro.
Hola. How are you, everybody? I am Leandro, and I am tired and jet lagged.
So if people don't know your name, they might know you as something else. What is that?
I have a not-so-secret identity or dual personality, depending on who you ask. Also known as Senor Performo in the internets, where I present lots of content, noise interviews. I torture some other friends and try to make amigos and amigas everywhere.
So what was your session that you did this year at Agile Testing Days?
Well, I did it's kind of becoming a classic, the modern performance tutorial, which is being asked and requested here and there. And I think I got good feedback. I may have had a chance to even write an article or something around it. Okay. I'm still confused about it. lots of exercises, fun, performance, and yeah, you need to experience it. Come. Yeah.
And then finally, like, I would love to ask you, like, because how many ATDs have you been to?
Oh, well, this is my first European.
Oh, okay.
That sounded weird. So, but I was last year in the last US one.
Yep. So then my next question is, what do you make then of the original Agile Testing Days? How did you find it?
Oh, wow. Borderline overwhelming in a good way, in a very good way. And lots of entertainment experience, awesome presenters, lots of new amigos. I love the experience of full of unicorns and fairy dust and musicals. That was also mind-blowing. I think this is the first time where I see something like at that level in a testing conference. Was mind-blowing.
Fantastic. And will we people who might come to ATD in the future, you think we'll see you back here?
Oh, I really hope so. Let's talk about that to Pepe.
Awesome. And if people want to know a little bit more about modern performance or just performance testing in general, where's the best place for them to get some of that info from?
Yes, please reach out on LinkedIn as Leandro Melendez or Senor Performo. You can find me.
We'll put a link in the description.
Today I don't have this. This is Holy Guacamole today, so sorry. Yeah, LinkedIn, Leandro Melendez, or Senor Performo in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, former known as X or something, and Blue Sky now. I'm
Fantastic.
not very active yet there, but...
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, amigo.
Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
Adios. Okay.
Next. All right. So I sent Vernon off into the I don't know what the arena of Agile Testing Days, let's call it, and he has managed to find a guest.
Yes, so we'll
shimmy over
the topic of, we don't know what the topic is. Symbolism, organizational psychology at work. Yeah. You know what, Jenna?
We could.
The expert is here. The actual social scientist in the room.
Let's provide some framing before we go to Jenna and introduce Jenna. So I was saying, like, we were talking about the amazing musical and how we got to see, we know most of these people for their testing identity or tester identity, but we got to see a few more of their symbols. And then I mentioned the word symbols, and then I went, actually, I remember Jenna's talk about that. So we thought, what's the title? And then we couldn't remember the exact title. We just remembered identity and symbols. So we thought, let's go find Jenna. And
we failed so hard on that.
Well,
so Jenna, over to you.
It's intense few days. So yeah, Jenna.
Okay. Please introduce yourself, introduce the topic, and help the listeners understand you were sharing with the crowd.
So I am Jenna Charlton. I am a tester. I am a social scientist, which, by the way, because everybody has just decided I'm the same as Ashley, I'm not. Ashley does industrial and organizational psychology, so she's more like a psychologist. Social scientists are really focused in the research side of things, so we don't necessarily do practical application, which just so fits me.
Is that why when you asked your question, you're like, Ashley, I like theory?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why?
It's exactly why. It's exactly why, because I love theory and I love the abstract. But Ashley and the folks who do what she does, they make theory really actionable and put it into work.
Okay.
For those who don't know, Ashley is Ashley Hunsberger, and Vernon will put a link in the show notes to lots of the awesome work that she's done as well. So yeah, let's hear about why that topic, how it went for you, and what would kind of, if people watching this podcast, what kind of message you would like for them to get from the keynote you gave.
Sure. So my talk was called Testing Identity and Symbols. And so that's the three big pieces of the research I'm doing for grad school. I'm getting my Master's of Fine Arts in Experience Design. Probably saying, well, fine arts, that sounds like a weird thing to be a social scientist in. But it's kind of a misnomer. We do a little bit of design work in my program, but really it's about how humans experience the world. And I'm looking at how humans experience work, specifically how testers experience work. And I saw some studies that my advisor gave me when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to write my thesis on. And they were all about kind of the experience of work in different fields. And there's so little out there about us, about testers. There's a lot about software developers, but very little about us. and I stumbled on this theory called professional identity formation. And professional identity formation is all about how people develop this symbol in their identity, which is their profession. And let me clarify what a symbol is. So there are lots of ways to look at what makes you you. Lots of ways to look at what we call the nature of yourself, or and the way your ontology, which is kind of your being. And those are words that can get defined later because I don't want to bore you. But anyway, so there are some theories around this idea of symbolic identity, which is that our interactions with others, our interactions with experiences, they become symbols in our identity that kind of build together to make us us. So, for instance, I am the spouse of my husband, and that is a symbol in my identity. I very much identify with being his partner. I'm a cat parent. I very much identify with being a servant to my cats. So those are symbols, but I also very much identify with being a tester. And when I think about a question that I ask people, being a tester is part of what makes me me. It is very much so. It is a part of me in a really meaningful and informative way. So that's what my work is about, is being a tester part of what makes you who you are. And then also, how did you become that? Because,
Well, you already know, like, I'm digging, I'm vibing off this topic. But what is it, like, land the plane for people, help them understand, how does this, or could this impact their day-to-day lives? Because they may not see the connection.
Yeah.
Because I've had the benefit of just basically interrogating you for the past 2 or 3 days, and maybe a few days before via video call. So, like, could you help explain for folks why this is important?
So let me take one step back, which is that this theory has been looked at with a lot of professions. Well, handful of professions. They've looked at it with medical doctors. They've looked at it with nurses. They've looked at it with teachers. They've looked at it with software developers. Can you take a guess as to what's different from us to all of those careers? It's an academic path, right?
Yes.
So they have an influencing factor of academia creating this identity, but we don't. So where do we come from? So what this means for us, identifying this and understanding this for us, is a couple of folds. But one of them is that if we better understand what we call the mechanisms that help to develop this identity, mechanisms being, it's a really academic way of saying experiences and things that have happened and moments, when we understand those mechanisms that influence the creation of identity, we can better develop the next generation. Because we can't manufacture experiences, but we can also put you in a situation where you have a better chance of having them. So I don't know about you, but as a junior tester, I was handed acceptance tests and told to go push buttons. Follow these tests, push these buttons, tell us what happened. Well, I'm not going to develop an identity in testing by following a script and pushing buttons.
Thank you for that. I love that. Another thing that I thought that made this important is, and you know what, this is where I feel like there's a relationship between your keynote and Ashley's that she just did. Because in Ashley's keynote, she talked around, there were moments where she's talking about, do you even know what your job is? Have you even figured out and defined it for yourself? Have you communicated it to the people that are responsible for your well-being at work, your line managers? And where I think this topic comes in is that a lot of us feel disconnected with our teammates because the way that we are treated violates our expectations based on the symbols that we've assigned to ourselves. So when we have that symbol of tester, that comes with a bunch of expectations, and then they get violated with our actual experience at work. and then the way that's handled is terrible. And to be fair, the way we handle it is not always, optimal, shall we say? So is how does that sound? Does that sound
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, and
Okay.
there's a central thread there in everything you just said, which is connectedness and belonging.
Okay.
So connectedness to the identity, belonging within the community of testers. And this is a really tough one when we think about belonging within the community of testers, because we do have a fractured community. There are people who don't talk to each other. There are whole groups of people who don't talk to each other. Do I want people to have to communicate with others that make them uncomfortable or feel unsafe? No. But I also think that there's valid and useful information on both sides. And because we have different identities in testing, and we don't always respect each other's identities in testing, and we have these different schools of thought and this kind of tribalism, we lose.
So the connection that I was trying to make between yourself, your keynote, and Ash's keynote, and I think Vernon just kind of hinted at it there as well. It's so not necessarily the wider community. In my role, in my job, how can I, as a manager or a leader, number one, recognize this kind of concept of identity and symbols, help other people recognize there, but also kind of take them on a journey to help them, maybe they don't recognize as a tester, or maybe they don't have to.
Right.
But I don't know enough myself, but I'm trying to think of how we combine these two to help someone go on their journey in the wider world, obviously, but also in the testing, in their job. How can we use some of these, these labels and terms that you've come across to help us, do that?
So my hope, and I say my hope because I'm still in the first phase of this, but my hope is that we're able to identify some markers that give us information in terms of connectedness to that identity. There's a theory called symbolic convergence. This is based on research done with teachers, I think in the city of Chicago. And they looked at teachers who were like preschool all the way through academia, like PhD researchers in universities. And they said, how do we develop the same identity of teacher across all of these levels? And ultimately, they weren't really able to get those symbols to converge. Symbolic convergence didn't work. And I don't know that we're going to be able to do that in testing either. But what I think we can do is we can identify some archetypes. And I think archetypes is the best way to describe it. And that means that we are able to understand what a manual tester is, because that is my symbol, by the way. I identify myself as a manual tester. That's what I connect with. An exploratory tester, like what does that symbol look like? What does it look like to have the symbol of SDET? What does it look like to have a symbol of quality engineer? You may say, well, SDET, quality engineer are kind of the same, but maybe they're not. Maybe there are very different markers within the way they see themselves between those. And I think that's what we need to focus on, is identifying that and helping people build towards it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So I've been chatting to Vernon about a way I want to and I've been chatting to you about it too, actually, about the way I want to restructure some of my training. And I think for me, the way it's all like a big loop for me when I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about what I want to do. It's like we have these identities. When we go back to titles, we sometimes have labels, which they have problems with them. But when I try and think of nowadays where we give someone a role, and we've all seen the fantastic talk by Martin Hynie talking about job titles. And when we think about these roles, I'm almost now viewing them myself as like back to the hat analogy. What are the hats that could make up the identity of a tester, and how can we work on them individually to build up that skill set, but the confidence and everything else that comes with knowing your identity in the world and also in your company. So I think this is going to be an amazing direction that you're all taking with this.
I'm excited about it. I am terrified because it is a lot for a solo researcher. But what I will say is that
Lisa,
I need all of you out here watching to be a part of this, because I'm going to put out a survey and I'm going to do a call for interviews. And I need your voices so that we can figure this out. Because I can't figure it out without all of you taking part in this. Otherwise, it's just going to be me hypothesizing, and that's definitely going to be wrong.
Well, on that point, let the folks know where they can connect with you, where they're going to hear more from you. I'm a little bit hesitant to do that because you are one of the people who I literally get smarter when I hang around with you. So I almost don't want to tell these people this because I don't want to put any constraints on your time. It means less time for me. But we've got to serve the audience here. So where can people get hold of you if they want to hear more about this topic?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Jenna Charlton on LinkedIn. I actually think I'm Jenna B as in boy Charlton, but you'll find me. You'll see the green hair. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky at They Wrestle Test. I think Blue Sky is theywrestletest.bksy.social, but also I'm the only They Wrestle Test, so you'll find me.
Perfect. Thanks so much for dropping by.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can have you on again.
Absolutely. All right. See you later.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. See you. Thanks. Right, I'm going to go and get Ash.
Yeah, so...
Okay. So I'm going to leave you with Rich again.
All right, so as we said, we're live at ATD, and we mentioned the musical before, and here is one of the stars
Don't leave me hanging.
of said musical. We shared our views, and we thought it was amazing to see you all doing it, but can you give us a quick, view of someone being on the performance? How was it?
It was an amazing experience. I think one of the most intense things I've ever did. Like, I'm not a stage person, right? I'm not a singer, I'm not an actor, I'm nothing of this. So I was like, the preparation was already quite a huge learning curve, I'd say. Having only one rehearsal on the same day as your musical isn't something I'd recommend for anyone doing this. Not necessarily, especially if you don't have any stage experience. But it was major fun. So much fun.
One of the things, I don't think I've told you this, but I've said it to your co-stars, is that one of the things that I've found absolutely astounding is what you just said. I'm pretty sure that you had 2 days, a day and a half in the same place together at the same time, and you could not tell on that stage.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You
Thank you.
could not tell. It was absolutely brilliant. And you, considering that you don't have that stage experience, you rocked it, man. You owned the stage. You look confident. Acting skills off the charts. I loved it. Honestly.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, when you know the script, right, you know where all these sort of bugs happened on stage. But it was quite amazing that it was, like, on the front line. I think it wasn't, like, really seen. But, I mean, the whole experience over the whole year, it just goes to show what you can actually do in a project with such a team, right? There was so much trust for each and everyone, between each and everyone. There was a safe space where you could say everything, your whole limitations, what you can do, what you can't do. For example, we had actually planned to do lots of more dancing, but I was like, okay, cognitively, I cannot dance on top of everything else, right? And that's completely fine. So you just need to set your boundaries in a good way, right? It's just easy communication. There's so much what we should do in our everyday project life when you just look at this. And then you can actually do something like this, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we absolutely appreciated it and loved it.
Yeah.
Baart's given me a banana, which was not what I asked him for. I asked him to wait in line, and he's given me a banana. You want the banana, mate? Have the banana. But yeah, Basti, absolutely fantastic work. I'm so proud of what we saw there, as in, like, seeing people from the community get to do that. And thank you for putting on such an awesome show.
Thank you for bringing me in. Yeah, enjoy the rest of the Friday.
All right. So,
Cheers, mate. Absolute legend.
we're not live, so don't worry. We're going to edit all this. Okay. So, like I said, people are randomly walking past us right now, and we mentioned how ATD had been around for a long time.
Yes.
And it has an amazing history. And someone has just walked past who I believe has been to quite a lot of Agile Testing Days. All right, so we're going to bring him on.
9.
Some of you may recognize him. Here he is. This is Baart. Baart Knack.
But not. Yeah. Here's the thing. Introduce yourself. Let the people know how many you've been to. But also, let's share the modes of transportation that you've taken to get here over the years.
Oh, okay. So I'm Baart Knack. I've been at 9 ATDs and 2 ATDs on the beach. And that's what That's what Vernon is talking about. I've been here by plane. I've been here by car. I've been here by someone else's car. But I've been to the IT on the beach or the ATD on the beach express by bike twice.
And of course but you were just cycling from around the corner, right? Just a very short cycle.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Utrecht, Cologne. It's only 200 kilometers, so that's easy.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, no,
Only 200 kilometers. So, what keeps bringing you back to Agile Testing Days?
the open and transparent atmosphere. You whatever I throw at them, they'll always say, "Yeah, try it." And sometimes it's a success and sometimes it fails, but that's okay. You'll learn from experiment. So I really like the fact that they're really open for suggestion and they're very welcoming to speakers as well. So yeah, you get treated in a good way.
Fantastic. And just to put you on the spot, you've probably been to a lot of sessions. You got any highlights of some of the sessions you've been to while you've been here?
To be honest, I do so many sessions that I do not get to go to many other sessions. I liked Emily Bache's keynote yesterday. I really liked it because it actually shows that also in Agile, you need to have some technical skills and stuff like that to go in there. But other than, I must admit, I've not been to many sessions. That's the downside.
Could you let the folks know what Emily's talk keynote was about?
Well, it was about how to coach people into getting the Agile technical skills that you need to have, like TDD and exploratory testing, everything. And I think Richard is now trying to catch Emily.
Emily has literally walked past.
Yeah, because Emily is actually going to the same open space I should be in right now. So you're keeping me away from my open space.
I do apologize. Yeah,
no, that's okay.
If you need to run, that's fine. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
Yeah, okay. Take care, Vernon.
Cheers, mate. See you. So I'm going to leave this note for you, Rich. I love you a lot. I think you're a great guy. Doing this podcast is too much fun, and I can't wait to do more. We should do more of this. We should take more equipment to more conferences and talk. So Richard has returned because as Baart was talking about Emily's talk, Emily was walking past. So we thought we might as well ask Emily to come and talk about her topic with us. So thanks for joining us, Emily.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be grabbed on my way past.
We just grabbed you. There's a camera here. You're on the Vernon Richard Show, which is the podcast me and Vernon Richard do. We're just discussing being at ATD, some of the highlights we've had while we've been here. And Baart just said one of his was your keynote, and we were wondering if you could give us a rapid version of some of those key topics.
Oh, wow. So you want me to condense my 45-minute keynote? Okay.
On the spot.
Go. Right. Well, I guess I'm a technical coach. I was talking about what I do as a technical coach, which is basically to encourage teams to adopt agile technical practices, such as test-driven development and continuous integration and those kind of things. And as far as I can see, that the way to do this is you've got to see TDD or these things as skills, practical skills. You have to be able to do them in practice, not just be able to talk about them. And I had Paul Holland come up on stage with his Rubik's Cube to demonstrate what I mean by a practical skill, because he solved this Rubik's Cube on stage very impressively it took him 3 minutes. And I was able to talk the audience through what he was doing. I could say, now he's solving the first layer and now he's rotating corners and, all that. So to just demonstrate, I can explain how to solve a Rubik's Cube, but I can't do it. But he can do it. Look, he's actually solved it on stage, and then he got this solved Rubik's Cube, and everyone was happy. But I kind of feel like this is what we do sometimes with something like TDD. You go, the manager kind of decides, we need to do TDD. So they go to the team and say, right, you're going to do TDD now. It's like handing them a Rubik's Cube and saying, solve this.
Right.
Bye. That's it.
And what's one of the things that I'd never heard of until your presentation, I'm going to get it wrong. What is the framework for learning? One was about thinking, and one was about practical skills. I've completely forgotten the names, and I hadn't heard about the practical skills one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course, yeah. So the one that you may have heard of before is Bloom's taxonomy. Yeah, that's been around since
My favorite.
50s. You know, it's a way of categorizing thinking skills that you can talk about, and it's got 6 levels, and you go through the levels in this order. But Hartman's taxonomy is the one I was speaking about. Marion Hartman, she's brilliant, and she's described another model with 6 steps in it for how you acquire a practical skill, like solving a Rubik's Cube or doing test-driven development. So, and it's really, I found it so helpful as a coach to use this to inform the activities I do with the team in order to bring them up to a proficient skill level.
Awesome.
It sounds really relevant to what I'm trying to think of, like how we do, education going forward, and how I think there's quite a lot of gaps in the way we're training people. So I'm a big fan of Bloom's, but I'm definitely going to check out that other one as well, because I think deliberate practice, massively important.
So I know we dragged you away from somewhere, but please, before you go, please tell the folks, if they want to hear more about this, and they should, where can they connect with you, learn more about this, get more training, etc., etc.?
Okay, so I am on social media. I have a YouTube channel. I post a lot of videos there about how to do test-driven development and lots of demos and things like that. And I've also got, for technical coaches, if you're interested in actually coaching teams, the Samman Society that I founded, we've got a website and a newsletter, and we have online events that you can join and meet other technical coaches. So find me Samman Society or my YouTube channel or somewhere like that.
Thank you so much. One other thing I quickly want to thank you for, when you talked about exploratory testing being a technical skill, I had to not run up on stage and hug you. That was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for that. You are a legend.
I'm glad. It absolutely is a technical skill that you need to learn. Yes.
Awesome. Cheers. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Sorry to just nab you.
Sorry for that.
It was ad hoc. Okay, so we said we were going to go and get a very, very special person, and they are now just drifting into their seats. Oh.
We said we were going to go and get this special person, and she said no. Because she was talking. She was working. And the reason for that is because she was here promoting her business. My dear friend Hynie has founded a company called Counterpoint. She is here to spread the good word among the good folks at ATD and beyond. She is absolutely incredible at all the things. I'm going to stop hyping you up. Let's give it up for Ash.
Hey, friends. So good to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. Actually, I'm not tired today, which is a drastic improvement from the last couple of days. Yesterday I had to take a little break in the morning before I started engaging with folks, because the night before, if y'all have ever been to ATD, you know that it is full on until 3 a.m. So
every night.
I did myself a favor and I went to bed early last night.
So
1 a.m.
I only briefly know about Counterpoint, but I'm going to try and tie some of the topics we've been discussing, which is kind of working out your identity, some of the skills that you may be missing, and then you go and acquire them, how to go about acquiring them. But once you have acquired them and you've been improving in your job, how can we go about proving that and having evidence to showcase that to some of our people?
Before you answer that, I wanted to add on to the list that Rich gave you.
Okay.
Because in Ashley's talk, Ashley talked about things like, do you even know what your job is? Have you done a job analysis of your job? Have you shared that with your boss? Does your boss agree with what you just said? How closely does that match reality? And then how do you converge those things so that your life at work is less troublesome and stressful for everybody concerned?
I mean, everyone's hired. Everyone's hired, right?
Yeah.
I love the addition of what Ashley was talking about, because I think so often when we do get to that point where we're building this career and we are recognizing our value and our contributions, and quite honestly, we're just rolling with it. Too seldom are we notating the facts, right? Are we sitting down and we're doing the things that are necessary for everyone around us who are also contributors, but mostly managing the contributions to understand these symbols? Like, what is the direct line from what you are working on and what you're accomplishing and how you're crushing it in your role and how you're accomplishing your goals and, doing all the things? What is the direct line from that to what they're trying to accomplish in leadership? What is the company trying to acquire from you as someone who is a contributor to get their goals taken care of? And that is how you make the case for the promotion or the title change or for the advancement in your career. And we're really poor at doing that. We're really poor at documenting it. But what we are good at? We're good at talking about it.
So we say we're very poor at documenting it, or in the situation I'm in right now, end of year review, suddenly it's like, hey, Richard, what did you do this year? And I'm like, that's a really good question. We've spoke about it a lot, but I don't have anything to hand. So now I'm thinking about it again.
Absolutely.
So I believe it's definitely a problem that I've faced. I come back and I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to go over Slack messages. I'm trying to go over my emails. I'm trying to remember one-to-ones. And I'm trying to think of all the good bits. And I know I've missed. I've got quite a good memory, but I'm probably getting 50% at most. And now I'm basing my whole argument on 50% of what I did that year.
So anywhere from 0 to 200 hours it takes people to build a case for their performance review.
You say 200?
200.
What?
So you're doing all this amazing work at your company and you are phenomenal collaborator at work, doing all the things. You're not taking the time to document that. Like you said, I'm going through Slack. I'm going through a very fragmented process to be able to pull all that together. And the hardest part about it is when you take those notes, finding it is the hardest part, especially if you're someone like me who writes a lot of their notes. So I've got sticky notes all over the place in my office, and finding the one that I need when I need it is horrendous. So what if AI could do that for you? Like, what if the data that you are contributing in your day-to-day, let's call it data, right? The notes become data. And then what if that's retrievable for the last 6 months?
That last part is the part that I was particularly excited about, is because, particularly in my situation right now, so I've been recently made redundant from my job.
But you're never redundant, Vern.
You're very kind. And one of the things that a few people talk, like my wife, Gina, she's like, make sure you get all the stuff that you need off your laptop.
Absolutely.
Now, because of who I am and the experiences I've had, there's nothing on that laptop that I need. Because I'm like Robert De Niro in the movie Heat. I'm always ready to roll at a drop of a hat. Okay?
Right.
But could you speak on why that is important? Because you speak on why that is important to do.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say, this is the HR in me speaking, right?
Okay.
That we're not supposed to be taking anything from our work laptops, right? That is kind of the rule.
And let me speak as a very compliant to the law.
Mm-hmm.
My point is, I don't put anything on there that I would need to take.
Fair enough.
That's my point.
Fair enough.
So there's nothing that I need to worry about.
However, let's talk about the next steps after redundancy or rifts or leaving an organization. It becomes searching for new jobs that are analogous with what you've worked on and where your goals are at, finding the new gig that is, reaching the goals, or interviewing. All of these things require some level of understanding about how you were a contributor at your last place of employment. And unfortunately, some of that stuff on our computer that we've talked about to friends, family, maybe at conferences, it doesn't make it off the laptop and it shouldn't. But that doesn't mean that you can't notate it or talk about it in a way that it's retrieved, right? Like you definitely should be having a history of what you've worked on. And LinkedIn is a phenomenal place to put that too, right? Like people go on LinkedIn and they talk about it. However, how often are people going to LinkedIn and scraping that and AI is not doing the job for you?
The LinkedIn is not the place to store. It just isn't.
No hate to LinkedIn.
And I'm usually doing that reactive. So something happens and I'm like, hey, ping, 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 can you give me some recommendations? Sitting down again, trying to think of the skills that aren't present.
Yep.
So let's say, is there a better way?
there's got to be a better way. And that's exactly what we're thinking, is there's got to be a better way. When I think about the work that I've done consistently over leadership, management, taking care of people, more importantly, just really rising the value out of folks and having them think differently about their contributions. For me, it comes down to how well are you able to stick to your legacy? And I feel like, unfortunately, there's such a fragmented process internally, but also too often we're broken from our legacy when we leave organizations. Yeah. And as someone who is a Black American specifically, being attached to my legacy is something that I'm inherently desirous of in all ways, shapes, and forms. Because if I'm not able to tell that in an authentic way at a moment's notice, then who am I? And I think too many people, especially who are made redundant or go through RIFs, they go through this extensive mourning process. I think there was just an article that came out recently that talked about being let go from your job is almost equivalent to not a death in the family, but really close. And it's because we're losing who we are. So my thought was, how do we keep people attached to their legacy? How do we get them feeling still like the contributors that they are, but then also staying intact with how to identify with that?
Well said. Ashley talks about that in her keynote around that aspect of when you get let go, you get laid off.
Yep.
There's a period of mourning. And I was like, oh, because I don't have that.
Yep.
Because I stay ready.
Listen, if you don't got to get ready, stay ready.
But some of my teammates, man, it's been tough. And rightly so. Like, it's weird. People are going through some. Life is lifing.
It is lifing.
And so I've got teammates who have either just had significant life events or are about to have them.
Yep.
Who got let go, and you're dealing with all of that. So the legacy, the way you frame that as ever, is beautiful. Rich?
Well, I'm just gonna say, like, I've been living that reality for the last, 6 to 9 months, right? So most listeners will know I left the job, which was a huge part of my identity.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, it's taken me close to a year to remind myself who I am.
Yeah.
And if I did have a better way of gathering this intel, I could have ran over that, reread that, and gone, you know what? I had an identity before that role. I knew people before that role, and then rebuild myself. But it's taken me like close to a year.
Yeah.
I was pretty much only here this week after doing my tutorial, chatting to lots of people coming back up to me going, I know you, I've read this, I've done that. But that's me needing other people to do that for me. But that's been a big part of the healing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been like, I agree, like the morning of your, like, it's just refining yourself. Who am I? And that's what I've been going through now. It's like, who am I? And I've got an answer now. But I think if I'd been more disciplined in doing some of the things that I could have done around keeping track of my accomplishments, keeping track of these things, it probably might have been easier for me to see all that in one place and go, you know what, actually, I do know who I am.
I do know who I am.
And I've got more to go. Like,
also, not only do you have more to go, when you know where you've been, like, not to get all Disney movie on folks, because let's talk about it. But when you know where you've been and you have real documentation about that, you can start to map out where you're going. And this is something, I know y'all have heard me talk about this before. When it comes to being testers, our jobs are so diverse. It allows so many paths, ways forward when we're thinking about the climb. It can even be a lateral move. But the reality is there are so many opportunities that arise with the way that technology is changing and how companies are reforming their suite ladders, et cetera. There's so many different changes where sometimes we get lost even in our own sauce of, I'm a tester, but what does that mean, right? So when you have the documentation to remind you and you can pull that forward, then you can actually start mapping your way beyond that. So thanks for mentioning it.
Yeah, well, that, what you just described is exactly what I got. We mentioned in Jenna's keynote earlier on in this podcast, and when we mentioned the identity of being a tester, I was immediately like, what does that look like? So for me, my brain immediately goes to building blocks. There's a bunch of building blocks that someone stuck a tester label.
Legos, maybe?
Pardon?
Legos, maybe?
Yeah, of course, Legos, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what are those different pieces of Lego? And actually, yes, they're currently stacked in a way that makes me potentially be identified as a tester, or maybe I want to stack them to make me look as a tester.
Yeah.
But when these upper roles come up, maybe I want to take those blocks down, add a few new blocks back in and rebuild it back up.
Yep.
So that I can go to these other roles. And that knowing what those pieces are is a big part of that puzzle.
Yeah. And before you jump in, Vern,
Go
speaking
for it.
specifically to that, and also Jenna's talk, which fabulous, y'all, research and all. When you think about your identity and the values that support your identity, right? Driving that future in the replacing of those blocks. When I left full-time gig in the executive team that I was working on, my thoughts were like, I can join another team. I can go back to testing. Nowhere ever in that map was I'll become a founder. Not one time. And I had a moment, and I think folks here know my husband. I was sitting there sobbing. When we talk about mourning, I was sobbing because as I had gotten into this, I looked up and I was like, what am I even doing? What am I doing? And then it took him reminding me, just like, we always need reminding of, Ash, you've built a solid foundation of all these different value skills. You can build anything. Your career's like whatever your career's next is, every single one of those values you've built over the course of your career has brought you to this moment. And yeah, sometimes y'all, even the greatest need reminding, but I'm saying sometimes we need that reminder, and sometimes it's us taking a reflective moment with the documentation we've kept and all the memories and the work that we've done and having evidence of that. And sometimes it's other people.
Well said, because that back and forth you just had reminded me of something else.
Give it to me.
Because I think these days we're being asked to be generalists more.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my colleagues who's still at the company, shout out to you, Patrick Prill, absolutely beautiful human. We were chatting recently, and he's like, I don't even know what my job is in a way, because I've got this job of tester.
Mm-hmm.
But I could make a list of everything that I've done in the past day and certainly in the past week.
Yeah.
Give that to another tester, and they'll be like, "What the hell is this? Like, who is this guy?"
Yep.
And there was maybe it was a couple of months ago. I was talking with him, Ben Doan, Rita Avorta. Who else was there? I think there was somebody else there. It might have been Joao. And we were just talking about this. What even does it mean to be a tester in 2024? Because you're trying to lead some folks. You're trying to be a technical coach in the way that Emily was talking about. You're trying to be a product owner and all of these things. And then you're trying to just interact with the products and look for some problems.
Yep.
And so I think if we have tools that will help us capture what we are doing, when we come back to spend that 200 hours trying to remember what even did I even do, it will make it so much easier to communicate to our next partners or collaborators or employers or whoever.
I'm telling y'all, data's dope, right? Data's dope.
That's the tagline right there.
Yep, it'll tell you the things you need to know, and that's really it. When you make your accomplishments data, what you can do is you can make a pool, and you can see, okay, this is really who I am, what I've been made into based off of all of my contributions and the work that I've worked on. And then when we're talking about how we are quick on the feet and we're pivoting regularly in these environments, we don't forget the fact that we played PM for 6 months because the company made the PM redundant and we had to do that job. Or we realized that, I was doing more coding as an automation specialist, and I was also building real, actual code with the software developers because they didn't realize how to make, their tests strong and to have a test mindset building those tests out. We can remember those things. And not only can we remember them, we can then use that data to then increase our knowledge and understanding about it. Maybe we come to a conference, wink. We go to a course, we do other wink, right? Like take a course, do all the things that build that career for us, because we haven't forgotten the fact that we are doing a number of things. And generalists is where the future is.
Yeah.
Multi-hyphenates are the new generation. People who are doing gig work, fractional work, interim work. These are folks who need to be really good at documenting the stuff they're up to, because we are getting into a hiring and a talent pool where people can do almost anything. So then who are you going to hire? And what values are you actually hiring at that point? Because I believe that's where we're headed.
I really love what you said there. And it got me thinking when you said about build your career, but I feel like it's like that step before we've also been discussing about once you build who you are, you know who you are, kind of becomes easier to build that career as well. Like I think if I think back to my past, or I think back to a lot of people I know in industry, they've already mapped their career out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here. I'm junior now. I'm gonna be a tester. I'm gonna be an automator. I'm gonna be a manager. I'm gonna be a director. Yeah, it's very linear. But as you just said about being a generalist and and also the speed that the market's changing at,
Oh, yeah.
knowing who you are again, back to that again, recording that history, recording those achievements, those moments. I've been rereading Jerry Weinberg's Fieldstone methods for the same reason, from a building content point of view. But like here, again, thinking about it from building your actual who you are, the model of who you are, being able to pitch that to other people, be able to reconfirm to yourself, I am that person, and that, you know, that identity is good and worth stuff, and, you know, can fill the gaps that some of these other roles are having, even if I don't have the title or that wasn't in my career path.
Right.
But why not? Like you said, you're a founder now. That's amazing.
I'm a founder. that felt good to hear. Thank you. And you're right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quote Beyonce here, because, of course, I'm that bitch, right? Like, I am that bitch, and I need us to remember that. Like,
amen.
Well, come on, y'all. If you're getting anything from me, you're going to get a boost. That's the reality, is that you know that you can accomplish these things. You have the history, you have the evidence. All of the things that you have accomplished really do count for something. Do not let these companies gaslight you. Do not let these people take your confidence when you know there is real evidence of the things that you've worked on and that you're doing. And if I can do that at scale, I will, right? And that's what I'm working on.
As you were speaking, then I was like, you basically codified yourself into this app, so it can scale.
Absolutely,
amazing.
I couldn't do it any other way.
So I'm getting anxiety about Senor Performo's camera, and I want to make sure we get where all the good stuff. Where can they connect with you? Where can we download the app? All of that good stuff. So tell the folks who need to get involved, with Counterpoint, where they can get involved.
Okay. There are many ways, but the most valuable right now is we're still collecting feedback. We've been building full-time since April, so we are iterating fast. We need the feedback. Join us on Discord. Jump on the page on LinkedIn, so Counterpoint, CountrPT. Join us on the web, counterpoint.io. Find me on LinkedIn. I mean, honestly, however we can get you involved, we want to get you involved. But you can download the app on the App Store, Counterpoint, CountrPT. It is 30 days free, subscription model. Get your companies to pay for it. Another wink, wink. Because this is about enhancing their ability to calibrate in the future, and you really showing up as your authentic self in the things that you're doing. So we can't wait to see you out there. We're excited. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm forever grateful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ash.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, Ash. Right.
That was too sick.
That like when you have all these, like, you know, we're live at ATD and we've had all these incredible thoughts, and, you know, you listen to people, it triggers ideas in you,
man.
And, like, you know, we've been talking about identity skills, multiple hats, coaching, a deliberate practice, and like to conclude, like we didn't know who was going to come past us, right? We didn't know what people were going to say.
We are literally here in the middle of the thing, and people are walking past, and we're grabbing them as they go past.
And if you know, we don't really plan our podcast, and we didn't really plan this one, but I feel like that is such a natural ending of what we're trying to be, what we've been discussing. It's we're at an event and we're getting to network and learn, right? We're having all these amazing interactions and moments. But again, I've not really recorded too many of them. I've had conversations where people have asked me really great questions around automation, and I've helped them, and they've gone, "My God, you've really helped me." I've not tracked any of that, right? I know I've done it, and it makes me feel good now. But this idea of tracking it for the future makes really sounds appealing to me. But also our job, we've been discussing generalist specialists, for example, but we're constant learners now. We're constantly learning. How do you keep track of all that?
Yeah, and
how do you do it?
Yeah,
how do you do the learning as well? You know what I mean? Like that's what I feel like we've gone full circle on there.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing that I've realized is a benefit of being at events like this is you start to distill who you are.
Yeah.
And where is my expertise? Where are my unfair advantages? What are they? What are the conversations I've had with people where I've ended up, helping somebody get some insight on something? Or have I left some inspired or whatever? Because again, it's not often that we think about that a lot. And these kind of events afford you the space and the time to have those conversations and realize, oh, did I just give Richard Bradshaw some advice and he went away with his mind blown saying, I'm going to do a thing? Like, that can be very affirming. And then if you've got some way to capture that conversation and recall that data, it just makes it even more powerful. So this is, once again, me imploring you, Rich imploring you to find a way to engage with the wider software development community. You know, we're specifically talking about agile and software testing at ATD, but just get involved with your peers, your colleagues, in any way, shape, or form that you can.
And I think it's a real, like, I've ran conferences and you get these messages from people saying, how do I sell this to my boss? And often the selling is focused on the program. And the program is, well, in some people, it will appeal a lot. But also, have a look at some of the names of the people who are being there, as in terms of, not just because they're known people, right? But you will get a chance to talk to them. Everyone, pretty much every speaker, there's exceptions because some people's energies, you know, goes up and down, and they might not be a huge fan of that. Most speakers will be approachable, but not also just the speakers. Maybe on LinkedIn, a few people you maybe don't know, but they maybe have similar jobs to you, have said that, hey, I'm going to this conference.
100%.
Because once you're here, that networking, those conversations, the hallway track, as we call it, it is part of the conference.
It's the track. The hallway track is the track.
I think when you, especially as I mentioned, being here, this is kind of a all day long conference because the actual conference track bit ends. But because of the way the conference is designed and the venue that they're in, you naturally then move on to that next stage of the event, of the conference, where you can do more of that networking, more of that conversations that may lead to you going, oh my God, that's such a great point. Or you talk to someone and they go, oh my God, you're giving me such a great point. And we can all do that. Like, some of us love to get on a stage and do that. Some of us like to do it over a beer, over a coffee. Some of us just do it eating lunch at the conference, right? So there's a lot of value to the conferences. And as well, as you said, there's value just in talking, right? But here, it's encouraged, it happens, and it's really valuable.
You know, I just wanted to jump back to the, how do you sell it to your boss?
Yeah.
You know, something else that just occurred to me, another way that you can sell this is by saying to your boss, oh, I see that Postman are sponsoring the event.
Yeah.
That means they're going to have some of their dev roles there.
Yeah.
We're having a problem with our collections. Why don't we go and talk to them? That's literally what they're there for. So you could even pitch it as, I'm going to go and get some free consulting from one of the third-party vendors or tools that we use. There's so many different ways to skin this cat, but it all comes down to interacting and conversing and conferring, which the clue is in the name, as people like to say.
You just mentioned consulting. Here's another slight different angle, but the same kind of point. You're at work and you've got automation challenges, you've got exploratory testing challenges, you've got management challenges, glue work challenges. You got all these challenges, right? You want to go get some consultancy to help with all those challenges. You're now seeking 5 different people. You're paying significant fees, you know.
Those fees ain't cheap.
Yeah, but also, you know, some consultants are better than others, wink. But,
wink, wink.
You know, you're paying all those fees. And again, when you think of a conference, don't just think about the program. Think about the challenges.
Big facts.
I was in an automation open space earlier. That was an opportunity. 5 recognized automation thought leaders, content creators, and you got a chance to ask your question. And you could be very specific because it's an open space. So yeah, it really, really worked. Definitely really encourage you to come to conferences and yeah, build up, but don't focus on the agenda. There's a lot more going on at these places and they're worth it. I'm hooked up, but I've done nearly 200 now, I think.
Don't sleep on what Rich just said. Do not sleep on what Rich just said. To put it another way, if you wanted to get Rich's time to consult on automation problems, let's say, professionally, right now, you would have to go and engage Slalom.
Yeah. You have to go to my employer, yeah.
And Rich has not divulged any company secrets. But having worked in this industry a long time, and knowing how capable Slalom is as a company, that is not going to be a cheap conversation.
Yep.
But guess what? For the price of a conference ticket, you can basically stalk this guy for 4 days.
Yeah.
And just pick his brains. And happily, one of the things he loves talking about the most in the world is tools and how to leverage them.
There is a small cost on top of the conference ticket.
God, what's that?
You know, an €8 beer.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. And for me, it's food. And probably for Rich as well, actually.
Yeah, but no, you make a really valid point, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's multiple ways of getting in touch with people. You know, conferences is one way. Obviously, we mentioned meetups and other things in the past, right? But it's just having that mindset that these people want to help, right? Back to what we're saying, there's communities around, there's identities people share, there's skills and knowledge that people want to attain that some people have, and you know, as a collective and as a group, we can share that knowledge, we can record that knowledge, we can use it to grow ourselves, grow in our careers, and conferences are a huge part of that. So we've had an absolute blast at Agile Testing Days.
Fantastic. Shout out to the team. I'm going to shout out Uwe, I'm going to shout out Stephanie, I'm going to shout out Hynie. I'm forgetting somebody. Is anybody else involved? I'm forgetting someone.
Stephanie,
yeah.
Uwe.
No, there's no one else. There's no one else. Oh, who's that?
Oh yeah. Who's that guy?
Oh, yeah, that Spanish guy. He's always around in the way.
I saw a pirate the other night.
I saw some pirate guy look like him.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know the guy. Yeah. And obviously the top boss of the conference.
Yeah.
Jose.
Pepe.
Times. But yeah, we've had a great time. We've got another evening to enjoy ourselves. I hope you enjoyed this extended episode of the Vernon Richards Show.
Give us feedback. Give us feedback. If you'd like us to do more of this, we can find a way to finagle our way into conferences in 2025, and we can do this again. So let us know.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.